Yeah.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the KongaCast, where we discuss all things video games, especially relating to Nintendo. I'm your host, Ryan, and I'm joined today with my co host, Adonis. Adonis, say hello.
Hello, everybody. We have a little more of a happier week this week, thankfully. We got some cool stuff in the news. Well, honestly, you just want to get right into it? What do you think?
Yeah, dude. Yeah, let's get into it. So,
Let's dive.
we are recording this Thursday, the 17th. So, earlier today, we had a Mario Kart World Nintendo Direct solely dedicated to telling us all about Mario Kart World. It was about 15 minutes. Also, in this episode, stay tuned because we will be talking about Elder Scrolls Oblivion remake that has supposedly leaked online. And we're also going to be discussing the PS5 price situation, which is fluctuating again. So, why don't we start with some of the good? Let's talk about Mario Kart World. Adonis, I think it's no secret that both you and I are excited for this game. It was cool to
Oh,
get a
yeah.
15-minute direct just focusing on the game. I was left wanting a little bit more or wanting like a little bit more of a reason to tune in. It was a lot of stuff we already knew, but that's okay. I don't think my excitement level has diminished at all. What did you think about the direct?
I think I definitely can agree that we didn't see as much as I thought we would, but I don't necessarily think that the direct was bad. I just think they're saving more to show as they go. They just want us to get used to the very bare bones new changes that they've made, of which there are new courses, at least from what we've seen in this trailer. New courses, new items, new costumes, new modes, which are only really free roam and what's it called, knockout tour.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a lot to go off, and I don't think they're done. I think they have a whole lot more to show for this game. I don't think
Really?
that this was like this is a 16-minute video. I don't know how long the last one was for however many years ago for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. But I remember it being longer. Could just be a perception thing. That was quite a bit ago. But I really do think there's a lot more to like that meets the eye with this trailer. Um, and just to get this out of the way, because I know everybody's thinking it. I opened up the YouTube chat during the
Bad idea.
presentation. I know, a terrible idea. It always is never a good idea, but like I couldn't help myself. And I did it on almost every other Nintendo YouTube as well. For the other, countries, they stream all at the same time. Every message was drop the price. Every single one.
Yeah,
I
people are
agree.
still spamming drop the price in these live chats for anything Nintendo related.
I do agree. They should drop the price. So that cat's out of the bag. We can move on to actually talk about the video game. Well, what
Yeah,
stuck out to you the most?
I understand the sentiment. They're
Yeah,
not going to drop the price.
no, they're not.
Maybe for everyone's loud enough, they will think about it and going forward for other games, maybe they keep them at 70. I think that's certainly a possibility. I don't see this dropping from 80 to 70. But
No.
anyway, yeah, let's talk about more of the fun stuff. Let's talk about the direct itself. So, as I mentioned at the top, I felt like they touched on a lot of what we knew already, but everything we already know is still good. So, I mainly came away from this like, what was the exact purpose of this? Because they labeled it as a Nintendo Direct. They revealed a couple of new stuff that we haven't learned in the last 2 weeks. From the initial Switch 2 reveal direct and all of the treehouse footage, we already knew a lot of these courses, these characters. There really wasn't any new characters shown, or maybe a couple new courses, but maybe not too many at all. They focused on these things a little bit more, like naming them by name. They focused on the new items by like naming them. Oh, this is the gold, the coin shell. This is the feather. But if anyone has watched any of the treehouse footage, this has already been known. This is like just shown in the gameplay that's been like coming out online as of late. So I mainly came away with it like, why did they position this as a direct? They could have never announced this. They could have just shadow dropped this on their YouTube page and just labeled it as an overview trailer. And I think this would have been better received by people that were mainly hyping themselves up too much for what this could be. But at the same time, I understand people were excited about this because Nintendo announced this 2 weeks prior. And then they had executives like Bill Trinen saying, hey, tune in and for the Mario Kart Direct, and we'll probably justify that $80 price tag. I'm paraphrasing, but that's essentially his message.
Yeah.
And then it was mainly just a direct recapping a lot of the info we know. So again, this is all good news. I'm still excited for this game. My hype level is not diminished at all. But I think like a lot of people are coming into this kind of expecting like, okay, they're going to do a whole 15 minutes with this game that we already know a good chunk of. What else are they going to show? Maybe they're going to show something really big. The things that got me most excited that I don't think we knew about before this direct were the mission mode. And I like some of the changes they're doing to the versus mode where you can have up to 4 teams.
Yeah.
I do think there was some really cool stuff there that was shown. The new stuff that was shown is really cool. But it was almost like a footnote in a direct that was mainly like a huge recap of like everything we know so far about the game.
Yeah, I really liked your point, going back to what Bill Trinan was, alluding to. The hype was even coming from somebody who's affiliated with Nintendo was like, this is gonna knock your socks off. This did not knock my socks off. It was great. It did not knock my socks off, and it definitely didn't make it seem like it's worth $80. That's last time I'm gonna say it. I promise. I promise. Last time I'm gonna say it. Yeah. So I do think for me, what really is exciting for somebody who it's just something I enjoy in video games is I just love the new costumes.
Yeah.
When I saw that, I was like, oh my God, this is going to make it's going to make free roam a lot more fun. And two, the memes, man. Oh my goodness. The memes are going to be so good with all the new costumes and just to think of what we're going to see. I both am afraid and I'm excited at the same time. Um, I loved the emo Bowser. Like I don't remember if it
Yeah.
was exactly what that was, but the emo phase Bowser just that gave me a good old gut laugh.
Yeah. So there's still like not a whole lot that they revealed. I'm sorry, not a whole lot, but rather
Not.
nothing new. Yeah, I know, a little bit redundant right there, but they didn't show us anything new when it came to the characters besides a couple new costumes. So I think like people that have kind of like pieced this together and like mathed it out, people are saying, all of the humanoid characters get costumes, maybe not so much like the Goombas and like all the random enemies that you can play as,
Yeah.
but all the humanoid characters are getting costumes. And it looks like from that, maybe people are, each character's getting around like 10 costumes each, which is a lot. That's really cool for people that like to like spice it up. You can still play as Donkey Kong, but you can play as his like, alternative costume. That's cool. I dig that. Um, but yeah, I just kind of go back to the fact that like Nintendo's messaging. So the Nintendo Switch 2 Direct was fantastic. The Direct itself, phenomenal.
Oh yeah.
Everything since then has been very just confusing messaging from Nintendo. Obviously, they got screwed with the tariffs. That's hurting their messaging about the console price and the ability to pre-order in the US. But from game prices, from like the Switch 2 like mechanics, like the digital game cards that they're advertising, and now this having a whole 15-minute Mario Kart Direct where it's really wasn't a direct, it was more like a summary of like all the info we know. Just kind of confusing, right? Again, I'm really trying to be positive. I'm still excited for this. I'm going to be picking this up, no doubt. I just don't understand if you're Nintendo why you do this. Why not just like I said earlier, shadow drop the trailer, call it an overview trailer. They do this for most of their games, like that are a couple weeks out from release. Drop it on the channel, call it an overview trailer. It would have gotten much better reception with the hardcore audience. That being said, this is great for casuals. People that haven't fully delved into the treehouse footage, that maybe weren't like super in the know on what Mario Kart World is. This is a great 15-minute trailer you could send your friends that have been out of the loop completely and say, hey, this is what the new Mario Kart is. If you have the time, you want to watch for 15 minutes, this is it, And again, the new stuff, Adonis, I don't know if you ever played Mario Kart DS, but the mission mode of Mario Kart DS was a lot of fun. And they touched on the mission mode in this, and it got me really excited.
Why is that? I don't really remember what they said in the direct. Yeah, apologies. My memory's really bad today. I'm like getting sick. Like my brain feels hot. I
That's
just
okay.
like my memory's shot. Um,
So the free roam thing,
and
right? I was a little concerned about free roam because it was like, all right, free roam, that's really cool at face value, just being able to
oh
go
yeah,
anywhere, open world. But like, what do you do? Like, what do you actually do in free roam? Or is it just like Animal Crossing esque multiplayer where you kind of make your own fun, right? But they kind of justified free roam for me by showing there's collectibles in free roam, and there's also these mission modes where you can like hit a P
right,
switch and
right.
all of a sudden a mission appears for you to do. And it's almost like the mission mode in Mario Kart DS is just integrated into the open world.
Yeah, that to me was what free roam needed because initially I was like, wait, so what the heck are you supposed to do out in the world? Like this is a very very good way for them to create content out in the open world. It's so
Yeah,
funny that everything's just open world now, even Mario Kart. I saw a few people saying that, but honestly, I think this is going to really work well, especially since Mario Kart really needed something like this, and they know that the mission mode works. Like we know that they can do it well. They've already done it well on Mario Kart DS, which I barely touched. I did in fact play it, just not for very long.
hmm
Um, I think this will be. I do think this will be the best Mario Kart to date. This
oh
and also
yeah,
the new
absolutely.
courses, like they look. I loved, especially loved, Toad's Factory and what was it, Starview Peak. I really like these new courses from what we saw. Um, which ones stuck out to you?
Yeah, I think Mario Bros. Circuit, like being the first track, but also like being pretty dynamic is cool to me. You know, usually the first track in any Mario Kart game is simplistic. Maybe it's like a figure eight shape or something simple. But this one like definitely has some like depth to it where like you can like grind on rails and grind on the wall and stuff like that.
Love
That
that.
one stuck out to me.
Oh
I
yeah.
don't think it was like specifically in this trailer, but the Donkey Kong level that's basically based off the original 25-meter Donkey Kong arcade game
Yeah.
where you're driving up, this uh, rail system where like barrels are being thrown at you. That looked really cool to me.
Oh yeah.
So do not get me wrong. I am excited for this game. The direct was confusing. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. It
But
just
is
generally, yeah.
what about like some of the items, some of the other characters? Is there anything like you wanted to touch on there, where it's like like this specific item or this specific character is just really cool to see?
I love the hammers, especially like it just fits so well into the Mario Kart formula. It's going to be very toxic. Same as the ice flower, like functionally exactly the same as the fire flower. But to me, the one that really stuck out was the coin shell. Yet another item to get. Just be like, oh great, it's the coin shell. That's the
Great
only thing.
coins.
I mean, to be fair, coins are good. They increase your max speed, which you very much so need to be at 10 coins at all times if you're going to compete.
Looks like they
Um,
upped the max too. It looks like the new max is 20 coins. So that's
oh,
cool.
did they?
Yeah.
That was smart. That was
Yeah.
smart.
I'm fine with that. And it looks like, just from what I've seen it does, it looks like the coin power up gives you 3 coins instead of two. And then they up the max to 20. And clearly there's like more plentiful ways to get coins. Like throwing the coin shell, there's just a whole trail of coins that like I bet you can get to 20 coins pretty quickly with that. So
Yeah.
Um, I'm cool with everything they've added. All of the items seem really cool. I I mean, in terms of characters, of course, I appreciate the fact that you can play as a cow. That's just fantastic. I love wacky picks for drivers and stuff like that.
Chef's kiss.
I would love to still see like Funky Kong get into the game and Diddy Kong and some other characters that are beloved in my personal view. But like if they don't come, that's okay because like we have a bunch of random enemies that we can play as. You can play as a cow. You can play as the penguin from Mario 64. Like there's enough here that's new and wacky that like really speaks to me, you know?
Yeah, agreed. I just think it's so funny that they were like, Funky Kong was already in Mario Kart, and they took him out and put in a bunch of random characters. It was such a slam dunk. Let me play Funky Kong, please. You like Ryan always gets Donkey Kong whenever we play together. Like, let me have Funky Kong. Let me have him. Anyway,
Yeah.
yeah, I think overall. And also, I'm very interested to see what the Kamek item does. It seems
Oh
as though
yeah,
it's
me too.
variable.
Yeah, so like I just said, I like wacky. So like if there's an item where a Kamek just appears and like random stuff happens, I like that. You know, it almost like my first impression was like not as crazy as this, but the Wonder Flower effect in Mario Bros. Wonder, where it kind of just changes depending on the stage or like the circumstance. You know, is Kamek going to be just a random roll and it's going to be something different every time, or is it like stage specific? Um,
Hmm.
Either way, I'm cool with it. I just like random stuff like that. You know, in a game like this, like yes, I play sweaty, but I also
You sure
understand it
do.
is Mario Kart. At the end of the day, it should be a little bit wacky, a little bit stupid. So I like the random crap like that.
Yeah, and you need that spice, right? It's the,
Yeah.
variety is the spice of life, and Mario Kart can get very samey. Having more items like that, maybe not the figure eight. The figure eight's kind of like the wrong version of what you're kind of talking about. I don't like that item. I
Oh
really
yeah,
like
I
the
know what you mean.
idea, like it's very Wonder Flower esque, right? I like that too.
Mm.
I like that too a lot. And I'm very excited. I think I'm the most excited to do free roam. I just, like I always say, I've said this in the past 100 times on the podcast. I just like driving around, appreciating courses, and it seems as though they're really catering to me and others that really enjoy that. I know, you've said you enjoyed that too. I really do think that the free roam was probably the best decision that they made for Mario Kart in a very long time. Um, and like playing it with friends is going to be a good old hoot. You can like wave at each other and make noises and stuff. Um, with up to 8 friends, which that's a lot of people.
Yeah, that's cool, man. Yeah, I appreciate what this game is doing. I think it would have been very easy for Nintendo to just release another Mario Kart and do the 8 Deluxe formula, which is fantastic. It's a
Yeah,
fantastic game. But they could have just done another Mario Kart. We're going to give you another 70, 80 tracks. We're going to give you just stuffing it with content. But no, they took it from the ground up. They said, "What can we do to just fundamentally change this?" Oh, let's make it open world. And that changes how the Grand Prix plays. That changes how a lot of things play. And we have this whole new free roam mode where you can just explore the map. Yeah, it's cool. I like the ground up approach, and that's kind of why Nintendo's cool is that they're not super derivative. They like to try to spice things up even in their main franchises like that. So I appreciate it. Hype levels, same as we were before the direct, but appreciative that there is this summary video for people to check out. I don't know why they label it a direct, but that's neither here nor there. I think some hardcore people are not too happy about it, but look, it's going to be a good game. We don't have to wait too much longer. We don't need more info. In my opinion, I don't need more info. Like I'm sold, you
yeah.
know. So I'm good to go. So anything else Mario Kart before we switch it up?
Maybe not so much Mario Kart, but overall, did you notice a bit of an art style change with this game? It
Oh
seems
yeah,
as
for sure.
though Nintendo's going in a much more cartoon-esque direction with their games, and I really do think that the slightly more cartoony Mario, what's it called? Oh my God, Odyssey is like we're going in this direction because now we see with the Donkey Kong game, like it's even more cartoony than ever. Um, and now Mario Kart looks like that. Like the characters look like they're made of rubber, for lack of a better explanation. Um, just something I noticed that I thought was interesting.
Yeah, I like the expressiveness of the characters. I like the animation, like the fact that like all the characters are doing like a silly little dance like while you're like hovering over them in the character select screen. I like that.
Oh
You know,
yeah,
it's charming.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
charming. I'm not always the fan of like the gleamy plastic look when it comes to like the art direction. I don't think this is
yeah.
super abhorrent. Like I like the art direction in Mario Kart World. There are other games Nintendo's put out in the past where like especially I think back to Zelda Link's Awakening, the remake that came out on Switch. By design, you know, the direction was to make everything look like it was a toy figurine, right? That was just the stylistic choice. And I just personally didn't like it. I just didn't like how everything just had like a plasticky toy look. And there's some games that like really rock that, but like other games like Link's Awakening, I didn't love.
Yeah.
But I would say, all in all, the direction for Mario Kart World in terms of the visual direction is fantastic. I appreciate what they're doing here. it almost it's funny because like Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is a fantastic looking game, but now if I look at them side by side, I'm like, wow, 8 Deluxe looks so stiff. You know what I mean?
True. Yeah, that's a problem that I'm having with going back to Monster Hunter World now for after having played and
Mm.
still am playing Monster Hunter Wilds. You don't notice how good you got it until you like go back to the old game. It feels like it'll feel good, but it doesn't always feel good because the game has improved. I will say that I don't really like or not like it. It's just kind of like a thing that I noticed, and I think they're going to keep going in that direction. I just hope the one thing I do hope is that the Zelda Breath of the Wild cell shaded sort of art style, I hope that sticks forever. I hope that doesn't
Oh
go
yeah.
anywhere.
Yeah, it's funny because Zelda is like a perfect case study of like changing up the art direction like game to game, and still like a lot of the games still age very well. Like I think
Yeah.
of Ocarina of Time. Obviously, like the polygonal, the N64 was limited, right? And you had this very polygonal shaped models and stuff like that. But if you look at the concept art, you look at like the instruction manual where there's more concept art and stuff like that. There is a clear vision for how the art direction looks, and you got that in Ocarina of Time 3D when they did the remake. And you got that with Majora's Mask, of course. That's a direct sequel. But then Wind Waker completely changes up the art style, makes it cell shaded.
Completely.
The big, they call him like cat eye Link, where it's Toon Link, but he's got these big cat eyes. And then changing it up completely again with Twilight Princess. And then Skyward Sword is kind of this in between of Wind Waker and Twilight Princess. And then
Yeah.
Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom is just even more towards Wind Waker, but not like Skyward Sword. So like they do a great job. The Zelda team does of changing up the art direction. While if I were to go back to any of those games, I still like the direction. I still like the art direction for those specific games. Like they make it timeless. Is kind of what I'm saying. So that's a huge tangent, but I'm glad we went down this rabbit hole, Adonis, because um, I think like games can look good without like this huge like Ocarina of Time looks good to me. It's not like the most technically impressive game. It runs like crap, but like the art direction's really solid. And to me, the art direction's timeless. Stuff like that.
Yeah, that's what makes it immortal. That's why so many Nintendo games uh are so beloved. They're so memorable for me and you and many, many others. It just is a shame that for this one they did what they did. Hmm. That's all I'm gonna say. I promised I wouldn't say anymore.
Oh
So
dang.
yeah, overall, I'm very excited. Just about as excited as I was beforehand, though. I will be caving. I know I will. No, not know I will. I will. Period.
You
It's
will.
already happened.
Yeah, you will. But hey, speaking of art direction, so our next story here, we got a leak from the developer of a remake for Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion, that a remake for Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion is a thing.
This
So
just in.
yeah, this has been long rumored, but we finally have some like more hard evidence that this thing exists. So Virtuos apparently is developing a Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion remake or remaster. Not really sure exactly how it will be termed, but these screenshots just were on their website, so someone just posted them early. They leaked early or whatever. So, but judging from the screenshots, yeah, this is like a full um I guess, reskin of Elder Scrolls 4. Not sure if it's a ground up remake or just a remaster. More on that when we get it, when we get the official announcement. But hey, Oblivion Remastered is a thing. And I, for one, like the screenshots. It looks like they're doing this game justice. This is a game that originally came out in like 2004, and it was mind blowing then for a lot of people. And they look like they're doing a good job with remastering it. I mean, we only have like 4 screenshots to go off of, but like here is just hard evidence that this long rumored remake is a thing. What do you think, Adonis?
I think that this quote unquote leak was very much so, could possibly be, not very much so, could
Yeah.
possibly be a marketing tactic
Mm,
that is, that is yet to be seen. But I do really like what I'm seeing. Uh, it's only 4 screenshots, like you said, but to me, you doing them side by side with Oblivion is just mind blowing, and that's the same feeling that you get when you play Oblivion for the first time when it first came out, which I did not do, but I know a lot of people did. Very much so how I felt when I played Skyrim. Um, Along the same lines, although they took the green filter off and put the brown filter on.
Yeah,
Um,
I know.
did you see that?
Yeah, and I mean we've been talking a lot about art direction, but I think this is
Yeah.
important to talk about too. So, yeah, you can make a game and remaster it in using the technology of like 20 years later, like you're doing here. But the direction, man, it can be purposeful and it could come out really good. And I personally, I like what I'm seeing with this remake, but I understand the sentiment where if you compare the two side by side, Oblivion's very colorful. Oblivion has like these rich greens, obviously like fidelity wise and graphically and like the polygonal structure of this world doesn't hold a candle. But the direction itself is colorful. This supposed remake is a little more brown, just in terms of its like color choice. So not I understand people that love the original if they're already concerned like, oh man, don't just like wash out the colors because
Yeah.
like the richness of the world is like why Oblivion's cool. It's fun to just explore the world. So I understand the concern. Me personally, I'm kind of encouraged by the screenshots. I'm like, all right, cool. An Oblivion remake, that's awesome. Oblivion's a fantastic game. Um, very, very iconic. I love the whole system where like all the NPCs like can just like eventually just wreak havoc on each other with like the AI in the game is just ridiculous. That's a whole rabbit hole though. I know you know what I mean, Adonis, but
Oh,
yeah,
I do.
Oblivion remake's kind of cool to me.
Yeah, agreed. Not even just cool, it's also just like historic. This is one of the most important games of all time.
Yeah.
That's not even an exaggeration. And they did throw in a cheeky jab in one of the like very small promotional images that were captured where it was like horse armor returns. That decision that they made in Oblivion to sell horse armor changed the video game industry forever.
Oh yeah, isn't that the first instance of paid DLC?
Yes. Not even
Wow,
to say that it's bad or good. It just changed everything. This is
changed
a
things.
very important game, especially not only to, as I said, to people and nostalgia, but to the video game industry overall. And I'm really, really interested if they're throwing a jab at it, the horse armor returning, and not necessarily actually doing it. I think they'll probably just make the game, remake the game, remaster the game, whatever, and just have that and no paid DLC, which would be great. We could use that right now. We really could use that. Um, but yeah, I think this is going to be, if it is real, this is going to be not huge, massive. Like this is gonna be a really big one.
Yeah, dude, I'm encouraged. Like it's cool that Bethesda's like licensing this out to a company like Virtuos to kind of do the developing. From what I was reading on Virtuos, it looks like they don't have a whole lot of like solo projects. It looks like they're mostly co-developers on all of the stuff that they
Uh,
touch. So perhaps they're also doing that, and we don't fully know the primary developer, or maybe they are the primary developer here. We'll just need to wait until official reveal to like learn more about this. But I mean, they've touched a lot of like fantastic games. They've touched on some of the Batman games. They've touched on some of the Assassin's Creed games, Cyberpunk 2077, XCOM. Their discography is huge with supporting roles for a lot of like fantastic games. So I'm encouraged. We'll just have to wait and see for official reveal till I can really say more though. But yeah, cool that's happening. I dig
good.
it. So uh, if we want to move on to our last topic before we get to what we've been playing recently, this is a little bit of a stinker. It feels like every week, Adonis, we have to talk about the price of something, but I do feel like it's important for us to kind of touch on these things because I do want to stay topical and I do want to stay a little bit more on the pricing side because we are consumers at the end of the day. So let's talk a
Mhm.
little bit about the PS5. The PlayStation 5 Adonis is getting a price increase in some regions. Yes, the console that released 5 years ago is getting another price bump. In Europe, the PS5 digital is now going to 500 euros. This is a 50 euro increase from what it's currently MSRPing for. The UK is going it's going to 430 pounds, that's a £40 increase. And Australia and New Zealand are getting price increases as well on both the standard and digital editions. Adonis, what is happening, man? Why does the PS5 keep going up in price in some of these regions?
Ryan, I'm so glad you asked. If only, I feel like I'm the living embodiment of the shocked Pikachu face. I think a lot of our listeners and you as well can relate to that. We knew this was going to happen. Of course, you, Sony, with your grubby, greedy little hands, are the first to grab that cash. Of course you are. This is a combination of two things. No, it really isn't tariffs, is it? I just realized that. Because what is the rate that they put
Well,
that's in place right now?
here's what Sony stated, Adonis. Challenging
Okay.
economic conditions, including global inflation rates and adverse currency trends. That is the stated reason for these price increases. Um, you know, you're going down the thought of tariffs. However, you got to remember, Sony is a Japanese company. I believe they do a lot of their development in Japan. If not, they do it somewhere else in Asia.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then they're selling these to in this instance, these specific regions: Europe, UK, New Zealand, Australia. Those are not impacted by U.S. tariffs in any way, of course, because they're not running through the U.S. at all. So, kind of a yeah, it's not related to that. It can't be, but Sony's citing challenging economic conditions.
Okay. Yeah, and the reason why I'm still pondering at all is because what they say is the reason and what is actually the reason are two very different things, almost always. We just never find up finding out what the actual reason was most of the time. Um, I do, I do not discount the fact that that is actually true. It is not a very simple economic, global economy right now, with wars going on and all of the trade
Yeah.
negotiations going on with the new administration over here in the U.S.
And
But
it could be indirectly affected by tariffs. It could be like Sony seeing, okay, you know, it's going to be tough to make more profit in the US. So let's not increase the price in the US, but rather we're going to offload some of those losses to these other regions to kind of make up in those losses. It could be that. I mean, in a very
yeah,
roundabout way, it could be. But sorry, go ahead.
no, that was the end of my thought. To be honest with you, I do
Okay.
think that's probably the case. Um, it just so happens that it happened at a time where the whole world is reeling from what Nintendo did. Uh, Also, so like that's totally kind of affecting my judgment of this. I'm also still mad at Sony for what they did to Helldivers 2. Still am. My review of that game is still negative. Will never change unless everyone in the world can dive. Let the Pope dive, Sony. Let him dive.
Hmm. Yeah, so like my thoughts on this is just like this is just so backwards from historically what we see in every other console generation. I mean, this generation's been so weird for so many reasons when it comes to the consumer side. Um, typically, let me refresh everyone how this is supposed to go.
Yeah,
Typically,
good idea.
as a generation goes on, the hardware becomes easier and easier to manufacture. You have your built-in supply chains. You have your network of supplies to build these consoles, to build software, whatever. And typically, you start to benefit from economies of scale. And all of a sudden, instead of costing, I'm going to make up numbers, but here we go. Instead of costing 350 to make a PS5, now it only costs 325. And in another year, it's going to cost 315, right? You start to benefit from that, and your basically your cost of goods sold should go down for each one single unit you make, right? This is just how it's gone for forever. I don't know if that is all of a sudden changing with this generation, but PlayStation especially is very comfortable continuing to raise the price of the PS5 in certain regions. Now, I don't think it's ever happened in the US. It is held true to that MSRP that it had on launch day. But this is the second price increase for Europe. It's the second price increase for the UK. And it might be the second or multiple price increase for Australia and New Zealand as well. So
Yeah, I can't
something is
remember.
happening here. I don't think it's completely cost related. It's impossible for me to fully say that without like actually understanding the cost per console, which we don't get that data.
Yeah.
But something is happening here where it can't be adverse currency trends. I'm sorry. If these are produced in China, not to get super in the weeds here, but the CNY, the Chinese currency, is pegged to multiple other currencies, so it really doesn't fluctuate too much against the pound, against the euro, that kind of thing. In terms of the inflation, like I just said, you should benefit from economies of scale the longer a console generation goes on. So inflation really shouldn't have an effect on what you're going to price that at. I mean, yes, you do hurt from trying to price it at 500 when 500 doesn't go as far as it did a couple years ago. I get all that, but really the decrease in cost of goods sold really should offset that and more. So anyway, long-winded way of saying, like, I don't buy Sony's information at face value. I feel like there's just something else here. I just don't know if they're just seeing the opportunity in these markets to say, hey, we can kind of up these prices and consumers are going to be okay with it. I mean, we're seeing this, I feel like, in so many other industries where like prices are just going up and consumers are just okay with it. You know, I mean, ever since COVID, everything has changed. Just across the board, prices have just been up in a lot of industries for so long that consumers are just more comfortable with it now. You know, and that goes for groceries, that goes for that goes for like the auto industry, you know, so many other industries. And it might just be Sony just taking advantage of that mindset. You know, as time is going on post COVID, consumers are just more okay with spending more on stuff. And yes, like we have the vocal portion that comes out on the internet, or people like you, yourself, myself, who make a podcast and we talk about this kind of stuff. You know,
We do? That's crazy. I
but
thought we were just sitting here talking.
exactly, yeah. But I mean, obviously, PlayStation thinks they can get away with this, otherwise they wouldn't do it. You know, so me personally, I think it's a little more malicious than what they're coming out and saying. Obviously, they're not going to come out and say, "Hey, we're doing this because we feel like it, because we can."
Wouldn't that be
they're
nice,
gonna
though?
make up some excuse
Wouldn't
like
it be
that.
better than what we get?
I don't know. I guess it's like, you know, do you want your friend to talk about you behind your back or just say it straight up? You know, it's kind of like that. Not that Sony's our friend; they are a
Yeah,
corporation.
you ain't my buddy,
They're
pal.
you know, I wouldn't call him a friend, but just an analogy.
Yeah, we were friends, but you ruined our friendship, Sony. Thank you. To me, and to really go into maybe somewhat conspiracy theory mode, I've been feeling my spooky conspiracy once like slowly creeping back into my soul because October is getting closer day by day. Um, I think the video game market overall is, with these price increases and the just enormous amount of money going into and out of video games, is leading to a you know the popping of the bubble. Like that's what I really feels like. Like I feel like the cost of for these AAA companies to create these systems and games and all of that stuff is getting so outrageously expensive, and they are needing or maybe wanting to increase the prices so quickly to catch up with those increasing costs. You know, with the current global the global economy, um, it's just getting closer and closer to nobody wanting to pay outrageous prices for these games, and then AAA companies not being able to afford to make all of these things, and then thus the bubble bursts. That's what I feel like is kind of going on with this, and Nintendo and Sony are just at the front of the race with it. You know what I mean? At this moment.
Yeah, you know, it kind of makes me think. I mean, obviously, like the industry is in a weird place, and weird is probably like too optimistic of a word. Like in some ways, the industry's in a
Yeah,
bad place. I mean, we've had a
agreed.
lot of layoffs on developer side the past 2 years, where clearly like the profit is not there for some of these publishers that they expect to be there. And Sony's not immune to this. Obviously, they develop, but they also develop the hardware and they sell the hardware. So the hardware itself is not cutting it for Sony either. So I think everyone's hurting in some way or another. And I don't see a good solution for this. If I did, I'd probably be, you know, working for one of these companies to help. But like, I don't see how, just as an outsider,
Yeah.
how you kind of resolve some of this stuff. One last thing I'll say about the currency piece. So in defense of Sony a little bit, I was mentioning the CNY because they develop their consoles in China. However, on their books, they are a Japanese company. So on their books, they report in yen. It's no secret the yen has depreciated pretty massively across global market for the
That's
last
putting it
like 3 to
lightly.
5 years.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean on their books, it's not looking too hot, but in terms of like um, cost versus sales, that's when you would look at the CNY versus the GBP or versus the euro. And, that part I don't think is as effective, but on their books, it doesn't look as good. So I can understand that, I guess, from a currency exchange point, as Sony mentioned. But that's the only defense I'll give them. Yeah, I don't know. To bring it back down to earth and stop talking so stupid business, it sucks that prices are increasing again for a console that's been out for 5 years, unprecedented in a lot of ways, and sucks for the consumer.
It does. There's a lot of those things that suck for the consumer nowadays, and my wallet is feeling it. It sure is. Gaming has never been such an expensive hobby, but I'm going to keep voting with my wallet. But Nintendo is the company that I make the exception for because of my memories and my friends that I have played many of these games with all of my life. Nintendo is the exception. Sony, you're on thin ice.
You're on thin ice there, buddy.
Yeah. So overall, and never apologize for talking business. I think this is one of the most interesting markets in the world at the most interesting time in said market, because of all of these things that are going on. I really enjoy talking about stuff like this, but I think we could both use some of our own video game stories to talk about, which means I would like to ask you what you've been playing this week.
Of course, dude. So I have been completely in the weeds with The Last of Us Part 2. So season 2 of the show just came out last Sunday, and I watched the episode. I enjoyed it, but I got the feeling like I was like watching stuff that was in the game and I just hadn't gotten to in the game yet. And I was like, oh man, I kind of want to experience it in the game first. Like that's the whole reason why I was doing this. So since Sunday, I've just been grinding this game in the best way. I'm still taking my time with it. I'm walking around the environments and enjoying the setting. And I am probably I am like very close to the end. It feels like so. Yeah, I'm still enjoying it. I can't talk too much about it because I really don't want to talk at all about the story. But again, I'm liking where the story is going. Gameplay is still really solid. I'm enjoying my time with it, man. I'm probably an hour or two or three or four from the end. It's hard for me to judge. If you play the game, maybe you understand why I'm trying to dance around this. But yeah, enjoying it, dude.
Yeah, I had no doubt in my mind that you were going to enjoy it. A friend of ours, Anton, shout out Anton. Uh, I watched him play that a lot. He's talked about it hundreds of times.
Oh yeah.
Loves that game, and for very good reason, you know. And with the show, I just think they're probably taking a little more creative liberty to push off a certain event. Which, yeah, I mean, if you know, you know. Won't say anything more than that. Um, and we kind of spoke about that the other day. Like that, I really do think that's what they're doing. Um, but I'm really excited to see how season 2 goes, because I am checked in for that, at least for the time being. I
Nice.
may fall off of watching the show, because I'm just curious to see like if I can get over that hump that really kind of pushed me away from playing Last of Us 2, and then playing The Last of Us 2, because I haven't played it. Like I still haven't played it, and
Mm.
you sir are slowly but surely convincing me.
Yeah, dude, it's a good time, and it's cool that it's on PC. It runs really well on the Steam Deck. I mean, there is sometimes
Really?
it has frame drops. Yeah, they optimize it pretty well for the Steam Deck. I don't love the motion blur. I don't know how you feel about this, Adonis, but like when you turn the camera too quick in some games, and there's this motion blur effect just to hide some of the crumminess with doing that. I hate that.
Yeah, that
But
makes me sick.
yeah, I don't like it. I haven't like looked at the settings on how to turn it off or whatever, but I've literally just been like trying to pan the camera slower, which it's a cinematic game. I kind of want to do that anyway and just kind of like take it in as I'm looking across environments and stuff. But yeah, sometimes it's a little much with the motion blur.
There's got to
Other
be a
than
way
that,
to
I
turn it
really
off.
there definitely is, but I don't know if it'll like hurt performance or whatever. So I haven't really played with it.
Uh,
But other than that, I've been enjoying it. I haven't found any other like technical flaws or anything. It runs pretty good on the Steam Deck.
That's impressive. That is
Yeah,
very, very impressive.
yeah, dude. So what have you been playing this week?
I have most recently started a new job, which I really, really like. I've been doing that
That's not a
most of
video
my
game.
time. That's not a video game. I know, I know, I know, I know. This it's called IRL. It's a you can I think it's a section on Twitch, which technically means a video game, right?
Hmm.
So yeah, I've been not had as much time to play games as I usually do, but I definitely still played some games. I played some Ash of Creation more so in guild on communications with my guild friends, setting up events and stuff. I was just doing that before this actually. We're doing PvP training, large scale, like engagements, attacks and defends, doing stuff like that, getting people involved, having fun. Gonna be doing that this weekend. But played some World of Warcraft. I've been on my
Oh,
MMO phase, a little bit of World of Warcraft. There are like 8 different versions of World of Warcraft all in unison right now. There's World of Warcraft Classic. There's World of Warcraft Season of Discovery, which is like the evolution of the classic uh, experience of World of Warcraft. And there's World of Warcraft Retail, which is what I play, which is like the current ongoing version that started all the way back of World of Warcraft. There's World of Warcraft different expansion realms, which are the World of Warcraft season. I already said that. Wrath of the Lich King is going on. That's a different version. Now, Mists of Pandaria expansion is coming back out. These are all different versions of WoW you can play right now, which
yeah.
is just kind of blows my mind. Like one of the biggest video game franchises of all time. One of the most
I don't have that
influential.
many hands. I only
Yeah,
have 2 hands. How do I play
yeah.
all of them at once?
Um, very carefully.
Okay,
Some
sounds
people do
good.
that. Some people
Oh
totally
my
do that.
gosh.
I no doubt in my mind there's people who do that. That people if that had been the case back in the day, people would have done the same thing. Like people play this game religiously, and I think for good reason. I actually really enjoyed my time. I'm a tank. I love playing tanks in any MMO, RPG, or even just RPG in general. I'm a guardian druid who can turn into this giant bear that's got green fire all over him. So cool. I love being a druid. I can turn into a fire cat. I can turn into a orca. That's pretty cool too. I'm
I
going
like it.
ADHD mode. Uh, I've been having a lot of fun. There's lots of new single player content that is very uncommon in MMO. I appreciate that they added that stuff because I don't always love playing an MMO with people because people can kind of be not nice, especially if they're playing an MMO. Um, so I've been having a good time with that. I've been playing some Monster Hunter Wilds. That's the big one. That's the one I
Mm.
want to talk about. Um, there really is not much else to talk about, to be honest. I've just been doing the same thing I've already been
Still
doing.
incredible.
Yeah, still incredible. Still, I'm in the honeymoon phase, so it's take whatever everything I say with a grain of salt. I do not think that game is going down from my number 2 spot all time because this is just
Sheesh.
we're just about to get more new content that was is associated with the initial update title update 1 arch tempered monster apex predator Ray Dow is about to become an event quest, which is supposed to be like a super duper hard kind of like fighting an elder dragon in Monster Hunter Wilds or arch tempered. Goodness gracious, there's too many similar
Something like
things going on
that.
right now. Wilds and World are way too similar. I keep confusing them in my head. Like an arch tempered elder dragon in Monster Hunter World, which now it is an arch tempered apex predator in Monster Hunter Wilds. Okay, there we go. I was about to have an aneurysm there. Um, so more content coming immediately, and who's to say they're not going to throw in more content immediately after that comes out? Just like a constant train going. They are beautifully, masterfully showing how to launch a game and support it post launch. It's perfect cadence, tons of content, tons of community goodwill because they're improving the performance so much. Like Capcom, once again, hats off to you. Also, I actually forgot. I played some Helldivers 2, Helldivers 2 today, and got my 100,000th kill.
Yo,
Yeah,
that's a lot of
yeah,
kills.
that's a lot of kills. Which really isn't anything notable other than that. But for every 1,000 times I've died, I have killed 100,000 enemies of Super Earth. It's pretty cool.
That's beautiful. Doing it all for Super Earth. That's just magical. That's awesome, dude. Anything else you've been playing this week?
No.
I think that's it for me. I've really only I just want to get through The Last of Us, not get through it in a negative way, but I just want to experience it. I've been enjoying it so much. It's the only thing I've been playing.
Yeah. I just realized that I was like, I didn't play that many video games this week. And then I named 4 games.
Just another day at the office.
I don't have a problem. You have a problem. I'm off today. Give me a break, okay?
All right, dude, let's wrap up the show then. This was a good one. That's going to do it for this edition of KongaCast. Thank you, everyone, for tuning into this episode. If you like what you heard, make sure to rate 5 stars on Spotify or Apple Music and follow the show to hear more. To stay up to date on the show, make sure to follow us on Twitter @KongaCast. For all business inquiries, please email kongacast@gmail.com. Thanks again for listening. Have a great day, and we'll see you next week.
Take care. Bye-bye.